McGarrett, 5-0. Am I up? Is my mic on? Is everybody here? Let's have some fun. It's Wednesday. It's Prep to Olympians. I got Pete Davidson from CaptainU, Spencer, Kelly, and Aaron Price. They're the lawyers who talk sports, sports law, and college sports. It's a trifecta right there. Let's have some fun. We got some stuff for you. All right. Hey, if you want to get in on the show, let us know you're here and chat. Not only subscribe to YouTube, but you got to have a channel. It's easy. You do that, chat on the side. Let's have some fun. Let's start the show.
I'm a Venice, California-born, Los Angeles-based sports fan. One that has played, coached, announced, and promoted sports my whole life. My love affair with sports started in my own backyard and has led me to this podcast. Thanks to the support of the Amateur Athletic Union in East Bay, I'm excited to bring you Sports Stories with Denny Lennon.
Sports Stories with Denny Lennon aims to bring its subscribers interesting, unique, and uplifting stories. You can find us at sportstoriespodcast.com. We drop audio and video podcasts every Thursday and go live on YouTube Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Many guests have shared their stories with host Denny Lennon, such as Super Bowl and BCS champions Brendan Ion Badejo, Peter Boulware, and Trevor Lawrence, three-time Olympic gold medalist Karch Karai, Kentucky Derby winner Doug O'Neill, NCAA champions Toby Bailey and St. John Smith, Hall of Famers Jimmy Lennon Jr., Rudy Tomjanovich, world champions Boom Boom Mancini and Tim Leary, AAU Sullivan Award winners Catherine Plummer, Sabrina Ionescu, and Spencer Lee, not to mention the head honcho, AAU President Dr. Roger Gowdy. We've also had best-selling authors Wesley King and Wayne Coffey, and our sports stories favorite Norm Bass, the first African-American to play two professional sports post-World War II. Become a friend of the show on Patreon, and you can help keep the dream alive. Go to patreon.com/Denny Lennon or go to our website to see all of our social media links. If you have an interesting, unique, or uplifting story to tell, contact us on sportsstoriespodcast.com.
Coming to you live from Los Angeles. We're in the shadow of LAX. It's a top-rated video podcast in the Centinela Adobe Corridor. It's where we share a wall with the Korean United Methodist, and you can see St. Jerome Church from our back porch. We're in the 7428 studio where Jimbo and Marley run the show, and Buck kicks back until he's got to kick it out. It's SSDL Live at 5 on YouTube.
Yeah, here we are, live at 5, Preps to Olympians Wednesday show. We got a good one. Is my family here? Let's hope so. I need it. I need the ratings. How about my St. Mark people, my St. Bernard people? They got to be here, right? That's where I went to school. Why wouldn't they be? How about my VBCers and my AAU people? All right, let's do this. We have a good one on tap today. We got to hit the top 5 states outside of California. First and foremost, out here in Los Angeles, we're certainly dealing with what some days looks like an apocalypse out here. I know our firefighters are out front doing the work. Same could be said to a couple of our guests that are coming from Oregon. So much thanks going out to those firefighters, people on the first response. And hopefully everybody's staying safe. We got to stay together, people. All right, top 5 states outside. Coming in at number 5, interesting, Mississippi. What do you know? Hey, I think this is going to get explained a little bit later. But we're diving in deep in this one wrestling thing from about 21 years ago. So those Mississippians are dumping in. Oklahoma in at number 4. Hey, that reminds me, Gary and Mary, they run our fan club out there in Oklahoma. They're going to have another grandkid. That's because Garrett and Christina are pregnant yet again. Way to go. Okay, the COVID is good for something, huh? All right, Colorado coming in at number 3. I think we even have a guest from Colorado today. Hey, my Lakers going to take on them Nuggets. How about Oregon? We got a couple from Oregon coming in, and always pulling more than their weight is Ohio. There they are yet again. Okay, having some fun already. All right, let's go to our what we got coming up this week. This week on SSDL, Never Seen LA. We drop it every Tuesday. That is a spectacular mural that Jonas Never 1959, if you want to look him up on Instagram, did in Venice. It's based on the great 1958-59 movie Touch of Evil. Orson Welles wrote and directed that. And right there was an explosion. That was fun. Yeah, like right there, like, and that's how the movie opens. Venice is like a border town in playing at that time, and it's a car bomb that kind of is opening in the movie. And when we went to go shoot this, it's Venice. Things happen. Hey, Geeter, the 74-28 shootout winner. You probably wonder what the East Bay 74-28 shootout was all about. Some 12 guests had sit down for a video podcast at the 74-28 studio. We put up, we ranked them 1 through 12. We had a competition, and this is our champion right there. Geeter, what's he do? I don't know. Does a few things. He was on The Price is Right. That's right. Look at him. That's back in the day. He led Cal State Northridge as a volleyball player to the NCAA finals as their captain. Then he went on to be the AVP Tour announcer, but now he's got a big gig. That's with the Lakers. That's right. He's the Lakers studio host. That right there is Royce Clayton. Royce Clayton, I was a JV coach while he was a varsity baseball player at St. Bernard High School. Top draft pick, the San Francisco Giants, 11-year career, all-star one time. Royce Clayton will be on the show. He's at the Oaks Christian High School. He's an Oaks Christian High School baseball coach. That's Tyler Skaggs. That's another Jonas Never mural that's out there. Tyler Skaggs has a wonderful foundation called the Tyler Skaggs Foundation. His mother, Deborah, runs it, and we are hoping that Deborah will come on the show and talk about that foundation on Friday. Okay, we're just getting started. If I am not mistaken, up next is our Randy. Yeah. All right, so look, Randy Rosenblum, Hall of Fame broadcaster, Southern California Jewish Sports Hall of Fame, Los Angeles City Section Hall of Fame. He's been around. He's done 4 Olympics. Okay, he may have made a mistake. I don't know. But 21 years ago, Randy was on what was considered the worst pay-per-view event ever for the Heroes of Wrestling, and he took a beating, but we got his back. Here, take a look.
The year 1999 is remembered by sports fans as the year that hosted the worst pay-per-view ever. The Heroes of Wrestling was held in East Bay, St. Louis, Mississippi, promoted by the famed promoter Billy Stone, who threw together a group of over-the-hill wrestlers in order to feed the beasts that watch pay-per-view wrestling. Randy Rosenblum was thrown into the same place as a last-minute replacement. What Randy didn't know is he'd be stepping directly into a dirty Dutch oven. That's right. Dutch Mantell would be Randy's analyst, and he would throw Randy under, over, and in that dirty Dutch oven time and time again. Randy had to deal with the likes of Jake the Snake, who simulated unspeakable acts with a snake in front of women and children. Randy may have misnamed a few of the wrestling moves, but otherwise his work was solid, yet he served as a scapegoat for the poor performance of this pay-per-view. So as we move forward in the Hall of Fame broadcaster's career some 21 years later, Randy decided to accept a proposal to become the voice of the National Backgammon Alliance, along with the SSDL network. As family, we took care of Randy, and it took us only 2 days to dig in and exonerate him, as evidenced by the tweets from Billy Stone and the Instagram from the Dirty Dutchman. That's right, on social media, the famed Billy Stone came out to talk about a pro's pro of Randy, and the Dirty Dutchman came out to pretty much throw Billy Stone into that same Dutch oven. Nonetheless, Randy has been exonerated, and we welcome him and we look forward to his high-caliber work announcing the Sports Stories with Denny Lennon National Backgammon Alliance.
Yep. Okay, and that Backgammon Alliance right there, sanctioned by the Amateur Athletic Union. Randy's part of the family now, right? And so we protected him, and I'm glad that he has just pushed that aside, that whole pay-per-view. We haven't, though. All right. Hey, we've been having some work done. If you watched the show, I think Friday, I said something about our contractor, like, let's get the work done. Let's take a look at what happened.
Oh, okay.
Is that right? Is that where we're going? Oh, let's go to Twitter poll. Okay. Hey, two of the greatest players in the history of beach volleyball, Karch Karai and St. John Smith, perhaps the two greatest men that ever played the sport. And I got them in a best of 7 competition on about everything but their playing skills. Okay. So the first round, Karch won as an actor. The second round, St. John won for sponsorship because his Speedos, Karch's Speedos just didn't stand up to side out. And then in the third one, St. John pulled it off. Who had the better senior season at UCLA? Because they both played at UCLA. Here's a tricky one now. Fourth one, high school teams. There, okay, those are the two battling right there. So that's the poll. It's up. It's going to stay up for another 6 weeks. Got off to a quick start when Eric Sondheimer, the prep sports columnist for the Los Angeles Times, retweeted. And that should be an interesting one. So go ahead and vote, and let's see who the king of the beach is. All right. Why am I wearing East Bank High School? And the Mountaineers, West Virginia. That would be the high school of Jerry West. That would be his college. That's because Jerry West is coming our way sooner than not. So that's why we had to get our court in shape, right? So we had to fix the concrete. Had to be right for the logo. Okay. Let's take a look. We're waiting for you, logo. That's right. He signed it the last time we talked. It's coming. Hey, join us on Patreon because today, producers Marley Rice, Christine Jimbo, and yours truly will have free throws. First one to make it on the new court, but Jerry West will be taking the first official 74-28 shot. That's the logo. There he is right there. Look at this and those sweet blue jerseys that they used to wear. Oh, what a beautiful franchise, huh? But Jerry can't be too happy. He's associated with the Clippers now, and I don't know. They're only 0 for 8 in closeout games. Come on, Clippers. I wanted that Western Conference Finals between the two franchises from Los Angeles, but we won't get it. But we do get Denver. Sure. I hear they got a team out that way. All right. We're looking good. Speaking of Denver, I think we got somebody coming to us that's a Denver fan. Yeah. Is that right? Yeah. That's our boy, Pete Davidson from CaptainU. First, let me talk a little bit about CaptainU. Hey, CaptainU has more than 2 million high school athletes, college coaches, club coaches, and tournament directors that use the tools here to find each other, build relationships, and build these kind of championship teams. So when you have like over 2,000 event directors and you have all of those coaches and all those athletes, and they're able to like go one-on-one with one another. So it's really revolutionized the recruiting process. And we want to make sure that we give them an idea, something to talk about here, besides how my Lakers are coming for your Nuggets. So is Pete Davidson here?
He is, but first we're going to show what.
Oh, let's show their video first. right, let's bring him in from CaptainU, Pete Davidson. Hi, Pete.
Oh,
Let's get Marley's got your controls. You got them?
Yeah.
Hey, Pete.
Hey, Denny. How's it going?
Hey, great. Welcome to the show. Pete, when I was a young, scrapping, 17, 18-year-old and no colleges offered me any of those fancy letters, I just got in a car with my friend and drove up the coast and begged junior college coaches to take me on. It seems like things have changed a little bit these days.
Yeah, a little bit. And that's one of the things, that scenario is exactly what we're trying to aid our athletes in that exact process. And I had a similar experience where I was never really aggressively recruited by any means, but potentially would have loved to play if I'd had a system similar to CaptainU that could have maybe given me a better idea of what potentially was out there. But yeah, those types of relationships are exactly what we're looking to build here.
So, Pete, tell me a little bit about it, because I know the idea here is to have direct communication. How does this all work within the framework of what the NCAA mandates as the recruiting rules?
Yeah, that's a great question. So to give you a little bit of background, CaptainU was founded in 2008 by two former collegiate coaches. And the reason that they founded CaptainU was mainly because they found that the tools that existed for them at the time were great at giving them a preliminary idea about the athletes and their basic skill sets, but never really gave them the opportunity to really get to know those athletes before inviting them on campus or even potentially having them end up as a recruit on their team. So they wanted to form CaptainU to give athletes and coaches a real opportunity to grow and learn together throughout their recruiting process and make sure that the athletes that we're placing at these schools are not just a good fit athletically, but also academically and personally as well. So that's kind of our main goal. And the way that we then allow that to happen within the system is to provide really great tools for one-to-one communication between athletes and college coaches. We also make sure that the parents have full visibility into this so that they're kept in the loop at all times and, just kind of create that sort of mutual knowledge base from there.
Pete, how did you get such a large number? I mean, with over 2 million users, that's significant, and it doesn't seem like you've been at it that long.
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the really great things about CaptainU as well is we actually also partner with over 800 recruiting tournaments a year spread throughout all 20 NCAA sports. And that's a major source of inbound athlete interest for us as a company, but also for what we refer to as a recruiting database ecosystem. And that's where, the college coaches, like I mentioned before, have that ability to directly search for those athletes that they think would potentially be a good fit for their team and start that communication to build that relationship. But we, drive those athlete numbers, as I mentioned before, through those events, but also a bunch of exclusive partnerships similar to, deals with the AAU and stuff like that we have going on.
So you and I have something in common, CaptainU, a relationship with the AAU, same here. Been part of the program for a long time, running beach volleyball and the like, but really something exciting's coming down the pipe, Pete. We're going to launch the National Backgammon Alliance, going to be sanctioned by the Amateur Athletic Union, and it's going to be an adult league. But I'm just looking down the road here. If there are some exciting high school backgammon players, and they want to connect with some college backgammon coaches, theoretically they could use your service.
Potentially. I can't speak to that. We have backgammon built out as a sport right now, but one of the really good things about CaptainU is we are looking to kind of expand, outside of some of the more traditional sports like football, basketball, baseball. So absolutely, down the line, highly possible.
Love that. And considering we're going to have Randy Rosenblum calling some of the games, I mean, we're not going to miss. This is going to be big. Tell me a little bit about working with events, because I'm an event director. And how would I who would I contact? Who would I reach out to? And how does that whole thing work? And then how do all the dots connect? What do you guys do? What do I have to do as an event director?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our event partnerships are similar to, I'm sure ones that have experience with in the past, Denny. Best bet would be to reach out directly to the CaptainU events team. Brandon Holman is the individual who heads that up. And we have a lot of experience, like I mentioned before, partnering with all sports events all over the country and all I believe the lower 48. And typically it's a pretty simple sort of mutual relationship where we provide recruiting tools and resources to the athletes that are going to be attending the events. And then I actually am personally in charge of the CaptainU college sales team right now, which helps the college coaches then find athletes that are attending the events that they're also going to be on site for, and to coordinate those efforts. So instead of getting to the event and kind of wandering around, not really sure where their athletes are, with using CaptainU, we connect them beforehand so that we can go ahead and say, all right, athlete A, where are you going to be playing? What jersey number are you going to be wearing? I'd really love to make sure that we get connected and I get a chance to meet you on site.
Oh, nice. Now, and it's important to emphasize that you're not in it for any one athlete or any college coaches. Your position is really just to facilitate the relationship. You're not endorsing anybody in particular.
Absolutely, 100%. All the information on the CaptainU athlete profiles has been put there by the athletes or the parents themselves. CaptainU as a company, we don't ever populate any information there, and we actually find that does give us a little bit more of a wider variety of information than some other recruiting tools. That's some of the feedback that we've gotten from some of our users. In addition, no, there's no in-house promotion for these athletes. We are simply the conduit for which they can use to communicate with college coaches. I remember a conversation with our old CEO when I had first joined the company, and he told me that it's in the name, CaptainU. You are your own captain. So if you want to play sports in college, everybody that works in this space and lives in this space know that it just takes tons of work. And using CaptainU is no different. You have to put in the time necessary in order to get on the college coaches' radars in order to play at the next level.
Once a kid lands a scholarship, do they say, like, I'm the captain now? Something like that?
Definitely.
Do you have any problems with wealthy parents out, in particular in the Southern California area, putting up their kids that are no good at sports and then posing a different picture for them and then sliding in through the side door at USC? Any of that happening?
Not so far. I will tell you, though, the second that story broke, I did run a search of our database to make sure that none of those athletes were in there. I'm happy to say that we did not end up posting any of those athlete profiles, but I was right there with you.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, now let's shift gears a little bit. Is that Alex English jersey? I think you got over there behind you. I gotta give you some compliments there. He was a sweet player.
Absolutely, yeah. I grew up going to Nuggets games with my dad back when they were still at McNichols Arena. I think that was still a little bit after Alex English's time, but it was actually kind of cool to see him on the virtual stands last night during Game 7 when the Nuggets did beat the Clippers, so we're coming for the Lakers.
Yes, they did. Now, I don't think there's any reason for the Denver to get in the way of something exciting like the Lakers and the Celtics, which everybody wants to see. Lakers at 16, banners, and they're going to run down the Celtics for 70, or a Lakers versus Pat Riley, who always is just looking so sharp in his suits and his hair. And so, I mean, that's LeBron against his ex-team. Why would you want to get in the way of any of that?
I think Jamal and the guys and the Joker especially they're not ready to go home yet. Hearing the two of them in the interviews last night was just hilarious. They just have seemed to form such a fun bond, and I can kind of speak to, we're all still in Denver, or still staying in, trying to, stay safe with all the craziness out there going on right now. But there's definitely an excitement about the city just with the Nuggets, making this run and coming back down 3-1 twice in a row. It's just been electric. So super excited. I don't know, what's going to come. LeBron's pretty scary as always, but I got faith in the Blue Arrow and the boys.
Okay, I like it. I hope you noticed too when we did our court reveal in the backyard here that the 7 of the 7-4-2-8 we got John Elway up there.
I did, yeah. Absolutely.
Heavy hitting number 7, that guy.
Yeah. I've also got a number 7 hanging over my shoulder. I guess it's over the other shoulder, but give a shout out to my old alma mater of LSU. That's Tyrann Matthews' jersey hanging up there next to Alex English. So. But yeah, one of the other great programs that we've worked with in the past.
Oh, nice. Okay. Hey, well, I want to thank you for coming on and letting our group know about what's going on with CaptainU. We got a lot of young athletes that are coming up the ranks. We'll cover them anywhere. We had one track sensation who's 13 years old who has been on the show all the way up through some accelerated 18-year-olds, and we take them all the way through college and Olympians on this show. So I'm glad that CaptainU could be part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very excited to thank you so much for having me on. And let us know if there's anything we can ever do to help your athletes make that transition.
Now, last question. How are you balancing this with having to be on Saturday Night Live and do feature films now? Because it seems like a lot, Pete Davidson.
It is. People are usually pretty disappointed to find out that I'm not the actual
okay.
For my dinner reservation, everyone's always very disappointed to find out that it's
okay. All right, well, we're good with it. We're good with it.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, Pete. Good to see you. All right, he wasn't that Pete Davidson. No. Okay. He could have been, because Pete Davidson, he's a hustler. He don't know what he's doing. All right. Hey, interesting, right? So I know we have a cross section of our fans, some that are kind of locked in on different parts of sports, but I think it's always interesting to learn about how these athletes, they come up through the ranks and then how they get there. And obviously CaptainU has a unique way of letting them deal with the college coaches and kind of cutting out some of what could be the middlemen, middle women that, get in the way of that process. I don't know, manufacture pictures like they're rowing when they don't know how to row, and then they get a scholarship. That's weird. All right. Hey, speaking of weird, we got 2 lawyers that we want to bring in. I love the transition's just solid. Hey, they're 2 lawyers now. I want to talk to them about this because I've seen them, 2 lawyers that talk sports. I've seen 2 lawyers that talk sports law and 2 lawyers that talk college sports. I want to talk about all 3. So hopefully we'll hit the trifecta here. Let's bring them in. Spencer Kelly and Aaron Price. What's up, boys?
Hey, Danny. Thanks for having us on.
All right. This looks like a fireside chat. We're throwing it back to the days.
Oh, Oregon's on fire. So
yeah.
we figured.
Totally. Hey, I got a sister who's not far from Medford, and she had to evacuate. She and her husband. I got family up that way. So, thankfully everybody's okay. And hopefully the same with you guys.
Yeah, it's been pretty touch and go up here for sure. Both our houses were right in the fire line. So we both had to pack up our stuff and get ready to go. But things are kind of getting a little better. So we're really grateful for that.
Yeah. And again, I just always want to throw that shout out to those guys that are on the front line, those men and women that are getting after it, man. That's crazy town. So we're always sending our best that way. Yet another reason why the Pac-12, I guess, didn't want to get involved with the fall season is not only was the COVID bearing down, but they knew that the fires were coming.
That's right. I mean, bad air quality along the whole West Coast, Washington, Oregon, California. Yeah. It's hard to play football when it's hazardous conditions outside.
So I'm going to get back into football, but first I was kind of curious what your guys' thoughts. And then again, I just want to set it up. You guys often talk about compliance. You talk about different college sports, and it's a really cool podcast because I was listening to a few of them as I came into it this week, and how you really you take questions from your listeners and that are very specific, and you guys are able to break them down as lawyers. So tell me a little bit about what you heard with CaptainU. And if you like what you heard about that platform, allowing the athletes and the coaches to talk directly.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, no, it was spectacular. I mean, he really knows his stuff for sure. And it was interesting hearing him talk about kind of some of the rules and regulations, what they're trying to get into. So I really liked him. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I think obviously if he wants to work with football and men's basketball, he's going to have to get certified by the NCAA. All of his stuff has to be basically sent around the country for the same price, available to everybody, and kind of break things down in a standardized process. But as long as he can do that, and he gets certified by the NCAA, football and basketball could use it as well. And so it sounds like he wants to break into those sports.
Never play that football. What's the so I would imagine they shut off the times where it's during the dead period or whatever, and then they don't have access. So talk a little bit first for our audience so they understand what the recruiting periods and dead period are, but also how that's changed considering how much the college landscape has changed this year.
Yeah, so just announced today, football, well, actually all sports extended the dead period till January 1. And basically what a dead period is a time where recruits can't have face-to-face contact with coaches or staff members. And so basically the recruiting is done just by telephone, email, text. Now they've allowed Zoom calls, and football has some archaic rules where you had a limited number of calls that you could do to a recruit on a certain time and only so many per week, that sort of thing. Well, what they've done is done away with that, and now coaches can have unlimited Zoom calls with recruits of permissible ages, 21, 22 kids and older. And so that's kind of how it works. But with the dead period, really, they can't come to campus. They can't have on-campus contact with any recruits. And the recruits can come to campus on their own at their own expense, but then they'd have to go to the Office of Admissions and register for one of their general tours like anybody could take. The coaching staff can't be involved at all. They can't tour them around. They can't show them facilities. They can't meet with their families, that sort of thing. So it's really tough right now. That's a dead period. And that's what we're dealing with in all sports until January 1. It was just announced today.
And that includes, by the way, they can't give out free tickets to games. So that's a big bummer for recruits, because you can't go to these games for free, which is a big deal.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I would imagine your guys' job got a little more difficult to get ready for your show with all of the changing rules of this year. But I would also imagine your listenership's gone up because you got vital information. So as we kind of get into that, can you let everybody know where they can hear you, and whether Apple Podcasts is your favorite place where they go, and wherever else?
What do you think, Spence?
Yeah. So you can go to Apple Podcasts, look up Two Lawyers Talk College Sports. That's our podcast. Feel free to go on. We love interaction with anybody who's listening, any readers, any questions. And you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Google Podcasts, just any platform we're on it.
And let me tell you this real quick. What we do is we partner with compliance folks that we have relationships with around the country, from Syracuse to Arizona State to Oregon State, USC, UCLA, everywhere. And we'll have them on our show, and we'll pick their brain for the latest information. So the stuff that we put out is brand new from the week. So you're always going to learn exactly what's new for that week from our podcast.
Yeah, and it is. It's great. All right, well, a lot of news happening, obviously, with the Big Ten jumping into the fray. So the last time we talked, the Big Ten and the Pac-12 were not going to do anything. And we kind of, we knew the Pac-12 would probably sit this one out and spend another year not winning a college football championship. At least they have an excuse this year. And so but then we also kind of felt like, Ohio State, Big Ten, they're probably not going to take that sitting down. So what exactly changed? And how did we get to this point now where they're going to be starting in about, a month and a half?
Yeah, they're starting October 23rd and 24th, I believe. Yeah. So, it'll be interesting. We don't know exactly what changed completely. There was a lot of pressure, especially from Nebraska and Ohio State, that was really pushed on the Big Ten to actually take some action, make things happen.
Yeah, and honestly, I would say I wouldn't count the Pac-12 out yet. The Pac-12 could decide around November to January time to decide to start a football season. It's not out of the woods yet, so the Big Ten's going to be back. I think there was a lot of political pressure. I think some of the pro sports going and having success, the NBA, baseball, NFL, NHL, some other conferences having some success. The rapid antigen test helps a lot, where they can get 15 results on coronavirus. Having those come out, I think they decided, let's do this. And now I think the Pac-12 is going to figure it out too. I wouldn't count them out just yet. Well,
the Big Ten play enough games. I guess they could play as many 7 or 8 games in order to have consideration for the Final Four, college football.
That's the goal. They said they had to start by the end of October, and so they're doing that just barely. And so they're going to play their 7 or 8 games, and then their championship game is going to be December 19th, and the college football selection show is on the 20th. So there's no doubt in my mind that was deliberate.
And I think we all know that Ohio State's will be one of the top 4 teams in the country if everything stays on track. So, but the Pac-12 doesn't seem to be on this. Okay, look, can anybody even get a hold of Larry Scott, the commissioner? Because he would usually be like on a yacht, or he might be like in a suite, not taking calls. Because the guy's got to live his life, and there's no reason for him to be bothered with having competition, I would imagine.
Right. Yeah. He he's paid pretty well and he should be on the hot seat right now. I don't think the Pac-12 deal worked that well, and we got to get football going for the Pac-12. It's really critical.
Yeah, we're on the Pac-12 network right now, and you guys didn't even know. We didn't even bother to say. We were going to say, hey, we're going to be on the Pac-12 network simulcast, but we were like, nobody watches that, so we're not even going to bring it up. No, I make fun, but, I grew up, and USC was pumping. UCLA in those years, Terry Donahue always was running a great program, and then, they had the Cade McNown year, so it was always such an exciting weekend when you're coming up on Thanksgiving, when it was Ohio State and Michigan. For me, out on the West Coast, we'll play that 9:30 game, then SC UCLA, and you knew the winners were going to the Rose Bowl. What happened to Pac-12 football?
Well, great question. One, TV money has hurt them a lot. They don't have the best slots. If you notice, the Pac-12 championships handled on a Friday night. They do that to try to get exposure. Everybody else, all the big boys, do it on Saturday. This is the Pac-12 championship. The Pac-12's they're having problems with an East Coast bias, an East Coast TV schedule. Yep. And then a terrible TV deal where the money isn't coming in. So they're not able to update their facilities. The other schools are able to do. So when the kids go and tour a Tennessee or a Florida or somewhere else, they're really wowed by what's going on. They come out to the West Coast. A lot of facilities are dilapidated, a little bit older. They're not on national TV as much, and that hurts recruiting. And then when we're not getting into the playoffs, that hurts it even worse. We don't have the market game, and so the Pac-12 really needs USC to step up for sure. And recruiting for USC has improved quite a bit. I mean, they're in the top 10. They could finish out pretty strong here, maybe in the top 5. And they need UCLA basketball to get going again and be premier. And I think those two cornerstone sports can help launch the Pac-12 back into national relevance again.
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, we know how the the TV schedules work, and those are rough, and that obviously hurts things. But I guess what was it, 15 years ago when SC was pumping with the Pete Carroll era, and they were pulling the numbers, and the only other team that's really making a dent is Oregon, and that's because they got Nike money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, Nike money is unbelievable. I've been to Oregon's campus and toured their Area 51, and they have bamboo flooring, and they put so much money into Lamborghini leather on the walls, basketball leather. They do everything they can to get all the recruits that they can, and Oregon's doing a fantastic job. They pull kids from LA, from Texas, from Florida to come to Eugene, Oregon, rainy Eugene, Oregon. With I think there's a PF Chang's down the road, and that's pretty much it. But they make it happen, right? They're out recruiting USC. They're out recruiting some big boys, Florida, that kind of thing. And so you have to sell kids. What does a 17-year-old kid want? They want rock and roll. They want hip hop. They want flash. They want to be rock stars. Oregon recognizes that. They give them the best uniforms. They give them the best gear, the best facilities, and they say to us, you got Nike, you got swag, and we'll make it happen for you. And they're doing a great job, and other programs are kind of getting left behind right now because of that.
Does Phil Knight, the CEO of Nike, or Larry Scott, the commissioner of the Pac-12, make more money?
It's a toss-up. I'm pretty sure it's going to Phil in that instance.
I just think Larry Scott has dropped the ball on things, and I can say that because I have I don't worry about any athletic director not coming on the show.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I haven't heard a lot of positive there. I think the Pac-12 TV deal. I remember one time when I was working at USC, and I was at the ESPN zone right there by Staples Center. I was there, and I could not get the Pac-12 network on TV to watch a game. Right. I was sitting in the heart of Los Angeles. I could not get the Pac-12 network at the ESPN zone. It's not. I don't think it's there any longer. But I remember that being a big problem and thinking our deal is terrible, and they need to fix it. And they really gotta work on things. The Pac-12, if they don't play football this year, is just going to take another step back from what they're already like probably fourth out of the Power 5 conferences. They're going to end up fifth. Yeah.
What happens? Okay, so if the Pac-12 decides not to play, the other conferences play. Do the Pac-12 athletes burn a year of eligibility?
No, actually, the NCAA came out prior to the start of this year and said anybody who either plays or doesn't play does not burn a year of eligibility. So everybody who's playing gets another year, and the Pac-12 student athletes get another year.
Oh, so like everybody's going to be like BYU, where you send them off to go get bigger and stronger in some foreign land, and they come back at 29, and then they dominate. Okay, got it.
That's right. Yeah, BYU is brilliant. I'm a BYU guy, so yeah, absolutely.
No, I always liked that game. I always was, growing up Catholic, I was always like, why doesn't Notre Dame do that? Just Pretend like they sent them out to Ireland to clean up the pubs and let them come back bigger, stronger boys.
Smart. It's really smart.
It's impressive that they figured that out. But yeah, but it's going to hurt the Pac-12 because now those players will just sit around not playing. Will play and then can come back again. And so they just get that much better. So then the Pac-12 they're really going to be a step behind if they don't play. And I predict, if you can write it right now, I predict that the Pac-12 is going to find a way to get going November, December.
And so is there a prescribed like amount of weeks you need to practice in order to then play your first game? Is there any kind of NCAA legislation, or is that left up to each particular school or conference?
It's what I hear from the coaches is it's about 30 days, 45 days you need to get going. You're going to have injuries. There's an acclimatization period that's required by the NCAA. Basically, you have to start in helmets and T-shirts for a couple of days in practice, then a couple of days in what's called shells. It's basically shoulder pads. And then on day five, you can be in full pads. And then you can get going. And, now I know the NCAA is probably going to modify that a little bit, but there's going to have to be some sort of acclimatization period so the kids don't go from zero playing, the PlayStation in their room to all of a sudden they're playing Stanford the next day.
Yeah.
So they're gonna probably have to modify that rule, but that's how the old rule worked before these big problems. You'd have an acclimatization period in about 30 days of practices, and then you would kind of get into the season. And you really need that if you're going to take hits at full speed.
What obviously we're Americans, so our religion is football, and we spend all our time talking about that. But what are other fall sports doing right now? Is there any other fall sports that are following along with football? Is NCAA volleyball going to happen? I'm a sports journalist that didn't pay attention to that before I asked that question.
So the major conferences, the SEC, ACC, and Big 12 are playing their fall sports.
Okay.
There is no NCAA championship that is within the schools that are going to happen. So a lot of them are playing within the conferences, but then aren't going to be playing in any NCAA championship because those aren't authorized. So, but those athletes get an extra year of eligibility as well. So, it'll be interesting to see. But the smaller conferences, the WCC, Mountain West, those types are not playing in the fall.
They're not now. Does the NCAA back away from those playoffs because of liability issues? Because they also don't run the college football bowl system or those playoffs. So does that just kind of remove the NCAA from everything by not running any of those other fall championships?
Yeah, it was a combination of that. As we understand, it was a combination of that, and there weren't enough NCAA-sanctioned schools to have enough teams to be able to be eligible for the championships. So as a result of those two issues, they had to cancel the championship opportunities.
What does a winter season look like? Or, what we would look at is like basketball season and the like. Is that going to be on track or is it going to be delayed?
So what we understand is that basketball just voted today to start November 25th.
Oh.
We expect that the other winter sports will also be delayed, but probably going forward. But we know for sure that basketball, both women's and men's basketball, is starting November 25th. Reduced schedule. They can only play 27 games instead of 31. But the plan is to have March Madness start in March. So we'll see if that goes forward. The other winter sports should follow suit.
And that's the cash cow for the NCAA is March Madness, because I don't know that they get much, if any, of the pie during the college football season. The bowl system there. So I would see that their interest would be in keeping March Madness alive.
Yeah, I think there's some talk about doing a bubble system as well. Maybe the March Madness can do some sort of a bubble in a hotel, similar to how successful the NBA has been, and seeing if they could do something like that and having a tournament. I know Duke and Mike Krzyzewski's talked about all teams making the NCAA tournament. I don't know how that would work, but you have some sort of like a 300-person, 200-person, tournament.
Wow.
Nobody's winning that, I'll tell you right now, except for Larry Scott. But that's it. And so we're excited. Basketball's going to go. All conferences are going to go with football. I predict the Pac-12 probably will end up going, and we're going to find a way to get through this. And the money's going to start coming back in. I think the antigen tests, the rapid COVID tests, are really where the game changer for this.
Well, are women's sports particularly at risk in this whole period as budgets are going to start to shrink?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question, actually. Great question, Denny, because because women's sports with Title IX, there has to be an equal amount of scholarships for both men's and women's sports at all schools. And so in order to do that, you have to have an increased number of women's sports. But generally, those women's sports are not revenue-generating sports. So it'll be interesting to see. The NCAA requires that a university 16 varsity sports. And so if you have football and basketball right there, you've got how many total scholarships right there? I mean, well over 100.
85, 95, 98.
98 total scholarships. So you have to match that with the women's sports, and you have to get up to that number of 16. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I think a lot of the Olympic type sports are potentially on the chopping block at major universities.
I think especially men's programs, actually.
Yeah. Women's collegiate backgammon. It's, we can even the scales here. And, I'm looking. All right. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good info. Yeah. Who do you got coming up on your next show? I think the last one I heard was the Arizona State Compliance Officer.
Yeah, I had Arizona State Compliance, and one of my good friends, I worked with him when I was at USC. And we'll decide. I think we got a pretty good guest coming up for the next week. We won't say it just yet, but I'll tell you what. I mean, when we get guests, we're getting the heads of compliance at major schools, administrators. We've gotten people from the Seahawks, the Chiefs, of the NFL,
the Milwaukee Bucks.
We're going to get names, but we like to go when we have a theme. We sometimes wait till it's about showtime and see what's going on in the country. We're going to want to talk recruiting. Recruiting's a big deal right now with the dead period getting extended to February 1. I'll tell you how important recruiting is. Some coaches have gotten in trouble because you can have unlimited Zoom calls. What they'll do is when a recruit comes to campus on a dead period where they're not allowed to have contact with them, they say, no problem. I'll just go around the corner. I'll call you on my laptop or my phone soon. You talk there, and we'll just walk on campus, right? That's the stuff. The other thing that's been debated in the Pac-12 right now amongst schools is having, things that you can have on your background in a Zoom call. Can you have the kid? Can you have different design? That's what the heads of compliance officers are talking about those things right now. And so Zoom calls and recruiting and all that. Who can be on the call? Who can initiate the call? Those sort of nuances are critical, and that's what the compliance officers are talking about. So we're going to have some of that, a recruiting coordinator this next week from a major Power 5 school, and we're going to talk recruiting.
Oh, nice. He should, whoever that is, should watch Blue Chips. And when a kid walks in the gym, right, and they play up, it's similar. You got to have your voice of, hey, is your guest as famous as this guy?
Oh, the logo. You got the logo.
Did you know
not there. But I heard a rumor that they wanted to change Kobe Bryant to the logo. Is that going to be a new logo?
Not going to happen.
That won't happen. There's too much tied up in Phil Knight's world with that one. Yeah. So I think within the next 2 or 3 Mondays, the logo's coming over to the place. He's going to take the shout out back and then sit down for a long form interview, I hope. And
to take him on one-on-one,
that would be embarrassing. That would be embarrassing for me.
If there's a logo for podcast, it would be you, Denny.
Oh, wow. Okay, clip that, Bob. Note to editor. Great. Hey, guys, I really do appreciate your time, and our group likes you a lot. Every time you guys come on, they're like, wow, I just learned so much, and, just ups their interest in what's going on in the collegiate world. So hopefully we could, next time we have both stupid questions and good ones, I'll bring you on.
Sounds good. Appreciate the having us on. Great podcast.
Of course. Hey, stay safe up there, guys. We'll do the same down here in SoCal. Right on. Okay. I like having those guys on. They clear a lot of things up. It's hard to keep up with everything in collegiate sports in a normal situation, right? In just a normal situation, collegiate sports has so many rules as it goes to recruiting, competition, and the like that you're always kind of getting blindsided by it. But in this era in particular, it's difficult to keep up, but it sure is nice to see those college football games taking place again, even if they're doing it in front of, no fans. But hey, we'll get back there. We just got to stay together. All right. Oh, good times. And look, I've told this people, I want the Clipper. They're my second favorite team. I want them and the Lakers. And then, then I want the Lakers to go. But now that the Denver has disposed of them, we'll see what the Lakers can do. Okay. All right. We did okay.
Wait, I don't know my end roll.
No. I don't know. Producer's got to find the end roll. Oh, yeah. We have a new one. It's a little tighter. So if you want to stick around. All right. Hey, coming up, we drop tomorrow our uninterrupted episode with Chris Geeter McGee. He's the Lakers studio host. He hosts the halftime and post show on the regional network Out This Way. He also has a great background as it comes to, he was the voice of the AVP for an extended period of time. So that's Geeter. We drop that tomorrow on Uninterrupted, and those have been doing particularly well. And then, as mentioned, Friday, Royce Clayton. Hey, he was a MLB All-Star one year. He's been around different places in the MLB. In particular, though, he's at current the Oaks Christian coach, and that's out here in the West, kind of the West Valley, in the Westlake area Out This Way. And he's running that program, and he really wants to talk to people about their young athletes, the students that are coming through school, about, what it takes to be an accelerated athlete now. And it's important for him to express that it's about the team and not so much, what the athlete can get out of it. So we're looking forward to that.
There.
Okay, we're good?
Almost.
Or halfway there. Hey, did anybody see my my Twitter, Facebook post? Also, I think I put it on Instagram with the forum from like 1974 on an episode of Barnaby Jones. Barnaby Jones, almost Magnum PI level. And you got the forum looking a good look back at those days. Kind of fun. All right. Also, remember the 70s NBA? Right? Murder. Okay, we good? Okay. I'm Barnaby Jones. We're out.
Thanks for watching and listening. Sports Stories with Denny Lennon is produced by me, Marley Rice, and Christine Jinbo, and edited by bad boy Bobby McCall. Original music courtesy of Lennon Music Production, and original images courtesy of Sienna Lennon Photography. A big thank you to all of our contributors of the show. Sports Stories with Denny Lennon is a production of Sports Stories Inc. and available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, or wherever you watch and listen. Make sure you press that subscribe button, give us a review, leave a comment. It will really help us grow the show. And you know what else will help us grow the show? Head on over to patreon.com/Denny Lennon to get some never-before-seen videos, pictures, interviews, and so much more. We are all over social media and constantly sending out clips on Facebook, conducting fun polls on Twitter, going live on Instagram, and more. To find all of our social media links, head on over to sportsstoriespodcast.com. SSDL proudly supports the My Stuff Bags Foundation and the Heroes Movement. Links to how you can support and help these foundations can be found on our website. We also want to give a big thank you to all of our partners of the show. So, as Coach Lennon would say, any questions, comments, or concerns, you can email me, Marley, at info@sportsstoriespodcast.com. We want to thank all of our followers and listeners, and we will see you next time.
When the moon hits the sky like a big pizza pie, that's Sports Stories. When you know that you're there and you watch it, Sports Stories. Come and watch Sports Stories, come and watch Sports Stories with Familia. It's the grandest of all and it's called Sports Stories.